What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Instant Replay, your favorite sports podcast. I'm your host, Zohaib Naqvi. Today, we were joined by a good friend of ours who's already been on the podcast, Sajj Khan. He is our resident Toronto Raptors expert, but he's also kind of an NBA expert and an overall NBA fan. So we got to talk to him about the trade deadline and all the different trades that happened during this last week. So we debrief, we talk about the NBA, we talk about literally anything we want to talk about. So this podcast is for all the NBA basketball fans out there. Hope you guys enjoy. Sajj, you're a guest again.
Yeah. Is it recording?
Yeah, it's recording.
Really?
Yeah, it's recording.
I've been talking shit for a while.
You've
Okay.
yeah. So you're a guest again. You're our first repeat guest.
Yeah, that's because I've got a lot of thoughts.
A lot of thoughts on the NBA.
Yeah. And nobody to talk to them.
And so we just invite you over.
Yeah.
And you step right in. So we appreciate it all the time, and we love talking to you.
No problem, man.
We love talking to you. And so, naturally, you being the big basketball fan that you are,
right?
You know, Toronto Raptors through and through, but you're an overall, you're a big basketball fan in general.
Yeah, I was just... Okay, so I thought that wasn't recording, but I was explaining, the League Pass fan, the guy who has League Pass and, knows, the three teams that are actually fun to watch. And now it's New Orleans, even though before it was in New Orleans, but they still.
Why do you say that? Is that because of the trade?
Yeah, I just want to see how it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
I'm still everybody was like, oh, they're gonna get the 8th spot, and I was like, they have a shot, but Denver is good, man. Denver has good players, in every position. They just have to figure out how to make that all work, or trade some of them to get a piece, you know?
Right. Okay, well, we'll get into the big trade, obviously, towards the end. I think that's because that's going to be the longest discussion we can possibly have.
What's the big trade?
Let's talk about a team that didn't make the trade. The big trade being Boogie.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah, the biggest trade of the... Ibaka was a really big trade, but we already did an episode on that. And just in terms of teams that didn't make any moves during the trade deadline.
Right.
Boston Celtics.
Well, so... No, if I was a Boston Celtic, I would have done it exactly the way they're doing it. Because
really?
The longer, the longer they wait, and frankly, the longer Chicago and Indiana wait, the less value they'll get back because the less hold they have on their position, right? The negotiation,
similar to Ibaka's situation.
Well, no, a lot more similar to the Sacramento situation, right?
Right.
And now, and I think it's always been the case. I just didn't know it. I just think now agents have a much bigger play because of the Supermax, right? And,
right.
And that's what happened with Boogie, right?
Right.
It was the agent started telling everybody, if you trade for Boogie, he is not gonna sign as a punishment.
Right.
So. Apparently they had, Divock said they had a better deal.
Yeah, I remember that.
Maybe they had a better deal, and then the agent started telling it because he was gonna lose $30 million, which means the agent was gonna lose money. And why couldn't Boogie just kept doing what he was doing for the last 7 years after he signed a $220 million deal?
For sure.
And then Sacramento realized, okay, crap, we made a mistake. Now we gotta sell him.
Yeah.
Get rid of him. But Boogie's already got his massive deal that he wanted. Now he loses $30 million, and that $30 million isn't coming back.
Yeah, of course. That has to be players for instance, Jimmy Butler are going to be eligible for that Supermax.
Exactly.
Paul George is going to be eligible for that Supermax.
Yeah, and
so teams really got to think about this now, right? Indiana needs to think about if Paul George is their guy for the next whatever year.
Well, that's the thing. When you have a really good player and not much around him, then you can't really bottom out. That's what happened. What happened with Raptors for a while when we were missing playoffs, because we had a good enough player in Bosch that could win you games.
Yeah.
Every other night, once in a while.
Yeah, for sure.
So you didn't really truly bottom out, and then we'd keep getting those 7 to 15, 7 to 13 picks, which are okay to good players.
Yeah.
But they're not game changers, right? They're not franchise level players. So you're in this vicious cycle of getting average to good players who plug in, and I just don't like that.
Sure.
I'm probably
like that
closer
model.
to Henke's way of thinking than I am like.
Sam Hinkie.
Yeah, because look at just the two teams that you have to go up against, right?
Right.
And you need 3 to 4
Of course.
really good players.
Absolutely.
And even
I
like
totally agree
Tristan
with you.
Thompson, right? Like he is amazing
At what
one
he
thing,
does. Yeah.
right?
What he does, he's the best probably in the
so
league at that,
he's,
right?
That's like, to me, that's like star level.
Sure.
Like in its own way. Like
Sure.
I'll never say his $80 million is too much for him because that's what you gotta pay.
Sure.
Like,
I totally agree with you.
like,
That's
if
what the
Crabbe-
league's become.
If Crabbe is getting 75
Oh,
million,
don't get me started on Crabbe, man.
you have to pay Tristan Thompson. It's what like that happened.
That's
we'll
the
talk
new market.
about it, but that's
We'll
what
talk
happened
about it.
with.
So since you brought up the Raptors, let's talk about the trade that's close to home for us. We gave up Jared Sullinger to Phoenix Suns and 2017-2018 for second round pick
right,
for PJ Tucker. Tell me, grade the deal for both sides of the fence,
right,
and what you think about what they were thinking about, like the teams were thinking about. What was Masai thinking about, Sajj?
Well, it's funny. Right when the trade happens,
Yeah.
one of my coworkers, a huge basketball fan, just like slacks me.
Okay, yeah.
All the good second round players like ever, like Marcus Gasol, Ginobili.
Yeah.
He started just listing all these players who are second round picks, and I was like, whatever, man. Like we got in like the bigger scope, right? We got Ibaka and PJ Tucker for two second rounds. Ross, Sullinger, and the worst of the 2 first round picks we had next year. So we pretty much, which is insane. Like we're gonna give you the worst of the 2 picks.
Yeah, but if you think about it from the other side, just playing devil's advocate, I think they're great trades. But
Right.
devil's advocate, both are free agents.
No, both are for, and that's the thing, and that's what we lost. We lost flexibility. Like all along, we've always had flexibility. We had Ross on a really cheap contract.
Right.
We had Corey Joseph on a stupid cheap contract,
Right.
which. If again, that's how much basketball has changed. Because 3 years ago, we signed Corey Joseph for 3 years, like $7.2 million a year, and everybody was like, "That's a horrible trade signing, right?"
Right.
And now it's like if you can get a guy who makes $6 to $8 million and he's one of your top 8 players,
Yep. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's
That's
amazing.
why Boston doesn't want to put Crowder in any trade because he's at like anywhere from 6 to 8 million for the next 3 years.
That's insane.
And he's a very good rotation player. Like
Totally agree with you.
So you need to give flexibility because for every one of those you have to pay a guy 30 million now.
Yeah.
And it's like what Dallas did, right? Like now Dallas is like, we've got Barnes, we got Wesley Matthews, and we've got Noel. And it's like, are you gonna build your team around those 3 guys? Like that's not gonna go anywhere. But what choice do you have? Because those guys demand the max, and if they don't get it from you, they'll get it somewhere else.
Right.
So you're they keep having to handcuff themselves.
Okay, so do me a favor and rank this first trade, and then we'll go into the Noel trade as well. So Toronto, good trade for us?
Yeah, I think it's an A+ trade.
A+ trade. Okay, fantastic. What about Phoenix? So they get 2.
Yeah, Phoenix.
They've waived Jared Sullinger
Phoenix
already.
Phoenix just needs to be bad. Like it's like a bad competition between them and Lakers. Like it's the first time in the history of the NBA, like watching the Lakers. Like never has a team needed to lose more than the Lakers. Like in the history. Like if they aren't in the top 3, their pick goes to Philly. Think about it. It goes to Philly, and there's like other reason. Like there's another reason why. They have to actually lose. So if they don't fall in one of the bottom 3s, Philly will have like their pick and the Lakers pick, which would.
That's insane.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's why they got rid of Lou, because Lou can literally win those random games for you.
Right.
Like, shoot, like we actually need to lose.
So Phoenix is completely rebuilding. Lakers obviously are completely rebuilding. Hence they shipped out Lou Williams, which is the trade that let's talk about. Lou Williams, who's having a fantastic year. Right. Very good year. Probably the only bright star on that entire roster for the Lakers this year. And he's now in Houston. Mm-hmm. To me, it's like getting another Eric Gordon in your second. He's virtually the same player in your second unit.
Eric Gordon were like the 2 most likely guys to get 6th man of the year.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna be on the same backcourt, like competing against each other.
Isn't that crazy? Do you think that's a good trade then?
I think for Houston, it's an amazing trade because like what Houston is doing now is like, and I heard this the other day, and it was like it was a pretty fascinating. Like, really the only shot any team has of beating Golden State is like gaming the system. Like I can, like if I was doing like a reason for teams to beat Golden State. And the only two teams that I think even remotely have a chance in the West are Houston and Spurs, right?
Right.
So because obviously Clippers have lost 10 in a row.
And you say remotely, right?
Like
remotely.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, of course.
I think when those guys are right, like there's not enough
They're unstoppable
solutions in the NBA on one team.
For sure.
Okay, but here's my reason for both sides. So with the Spurs, Kawhi could be the best player on the court in that series.
For sure.
Like he has a chance. Now, Durant could be, Steph could be, and probably Thompson could be
Clay?
too.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't think Aldridge can be.
Okay.
Okay, so they only have Kawhi. So like that's their only sort of prayer that like Kawhi just becomes, he's just so like they have no answer for him. Okay, but again, it could easily work the other way and probably will work the other way, right?
For sure.
Okay.
Houston.
And Houston can just game the system. And I heard this.
What do you mean by that, though?
Like they're already like averaging after the All-Star like 53s a game, right?
Holy crap.
So what if they like just shoot like 63s a game? No, but no, seriously, if they're like, okay, we have to just shoot 63s.
Yeah.
And we have to try to hit 25 a game against them. And if we do it, if we go 25 or 60, like we can get some games. Or maybe Harden has one game where he just scores like 55 points. Like that's the only way. Like if you're gonna just like, and that's what Houston does. Like
but if you're going against like Golden State or someone, right, and you're Houston and you're going up against Golden State, and do you really think your 3-pointers are gonna outmatch their 3-pointers?
But
like it's just gonna be a 3-point fest.
That's why I think.
But there's no chance.
But that's why I think Golden State is gonna beat it. But what I'm saying is like Golden State could also go cold, maybe. And
1 out of 7 games.
They could just like
maybe.
Man, I was watching the game yesterday, Houston versus Mini. Like I felt like I watched like 1.5 quarters. It felt like Houston only took threes. Like they didn't take another type of shot.
Yeah.
So if they're hitting like at a 40%, 45% clip on any of those games, just by like math alone, they'll have a shot in those games.
And Lou Williams is just going to help with that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like the guy believes in like, you know, the math behind the sport of basketball.
He's known for being the analytics GM.
And they're just like putting all their chips in one basket. Like, we're
okay. So grade the deal for Houston, and then grade the deal for the Lakers.
I think it's like A for both teams.
Both teams.
Man, Lakers literally need to figure a way like
rebuild mode.
No, but again, like this is the most different type of rebuild. This is literally like if we don't lose enough games to be in the bottom 3, our number 1 pick in a very strong draft is going to Philly. So like, what do? Like, do you just like call, Russell, Randall, Ingram, all these guys in a room and be like,
"Yo, tank!"
Like literally, guys, it's a weird place to be in.
You guys, listen. We can't afford to lose this pick. Start losing. Yeah. Start doing turnovers.
That's
whatever
why,
you gotta
Luke
do.
Walton has like one of the toughest jobs because like
that is a
you
tough
can't
job.
Build like a culture around like losing. But like now, with everybody understands they actually have to lose. So it'll be interesting how they go about losing, which is crazy, right? Like
that is nuts.
Yeah,
that is like, nuts.
The first time ever.
76ers were criticized heavily for tank. Like
but with 76ers, it was just like we're not putting a good product out there because we're going for drafts. With Laker, it's like we need to lose a specific amount of time, like a certain amount of time,
to maintain our draft.
Yeah,
right.
To get that pick.
Yeah,
in a very strong draft. Like that's crazy.
That is crazy. Okay, so sticking into the Western Conference now, there's a big trade that happened. I thought this was pretty big. The OKC Thunder received Taj Gibson, Doug McDermott, 2nd-round pick for Chicago, and Chicago received, I don't even know who this is, to be quite honest, Joffrey
Laverne. Yeah, he used to be in Denver before they got Jokic and Nurkic.
I've honestly never seen him play. Is he good?
He's from France. Like he's fine.
He's a center.
Yeah, he's just a good backup role player. He's okay, man. Like,
he's okay. Okay, and you get Anthony Morrow, who I've seen play, who's not bad. He's a good shooting guard. Like he's pretty good. And then you get the young stud. I don't know if stud is the right word, but Cameron Payne.
Right.
Who still has to prove himself, in my opinion.
So I think it's just Chicago saying, they're giving up on the fact, like, okay, like they gave up a lot to get McDermott. Like, I don't know exactly the details off the top of my head, but if you look it up, like they literally gave like 4 different draft picks to get to a position where they can get McDermott, and it didn't end up working out. So it's like OKC's probably going, okay, like we'll see. We think McDermott could be a pretty decent shooter. Like,
Yeah.
let's give him a look. And then Chicago's doing the same thing, right? Because Payne is like 6'3". He could probably be a starting point guard in the NBA. Like,
And if anyone needs it, Chicago Bulls need a point
Yeah.
guard. I mean, Rondo
he
is not
can
the
he be
guy.
a top 10, top 15, even top 20 starting point guard. Payne, I don't know, but like he could still probably be a starting point guard.
Yeah, I agree. Especially on a team like the Chicago Bulls. I
Yeah.
think he's going to be the
Like
starting
if
point
Chicago,
guard.
like it's like if Chicago doesn't make the playoffs and they have like a 1% shot at the lottery, unless it's supposed to get that number one pick. I'm not saying like they shouldn't draft a point guard because
Yeah.
they got Payne. No,
Yeah.
but it's like it's just like a look. Both teams going like, okay, we'll see what this guy can do. Who didn't do it for the other guys?
Right.
And like,
So get this. This I found pretty cool for a fun stat. Thunder are actually dead last when it comes to wide open threes.
yeah. So exactly.
Percentage-wise.
It'll perfectly help OKC.
That's
because,
crazy. But Doug McDermott that's what he
Yeah,
does. That's all he does, really. He's a 3-point specialist, right?
He's a 3-point specialist until he plays the Raptors, and every game he has a better one than the last one. Like,
So then he even becomes 3-point expert. You know what I mean? Like he's even better.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think overall, what would you give them? And then
So
I'll tell
I
you what I
think
give them.
Okay, so like I love the trade for OKC, and man, like OKC lost.
But then, okay, this is my other question. OKC, you love the trade for OKC. How does Ennis Cantor, Steve Adams, and Taj Gibson work? Like, who do you play?
perfectly.
What do you mean?
No, because I mean, last year they had Ibaka and they made it work. Like whoever's playing better in whatever matchup you are, it just gives you flexibility. Imagine having to play those three guys in a playoff series. And believe me, somewhere Houston is going, we better do everything possible to avoid OKC. Because
Really?
that's a horrible matchup for Houston. Like those three guys are gonna drive a team insane. Like they're huge. Those guys are not.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, hands down.
I thought it would be, in my opinion, I thought it was going to be tough because you have a guy like Ennis Cantor who's purely offensive minded.
Man, they're
Defensive
big, though.
liability,
They
but-
destroy. Like okay, like last year when OKC went up against Golden State, right? This is again. I heard this somewhere, which is so true. It made me got me thinking. There were stretches where like OKC just got every rebound. They got every rebound. No, they
Okay.
literally got every rebound, and that's why they were up 3-1. They were dominating the rebounding.
Yeah.
Okay, they were just a bigger team, right?
Yeah.
And that's not going to be any different. Like Taj Gibson is a really good player, man.
Of course.
And
Yeah, I
he's
totally agree with
very
you.
underrated. And Adams and Cantor, they can be monsters on the boards. Like they're not going to give you 30 points, but like that's not the impact you want from those guys, right? Because you got Westbrook and who can get you 40. Like you want those guys to be bruisers. Like and over a course of a 7-game series,
Yeah.
like those three guys are going to wear out teams. Like I'm not saying
I
they
kind of
can.
agree with you. I think they're going to out-rebound most teams in the West.
Yeah.
I think the West, like, including the Golden State Warriors, they're small
Yeah.
lineups, right? Like, everyone's a small lineup. There's not many teams that can battle it out. Maybe Memphis can battle it out because they have Marc Gasol, Zebo coming off the bench, so you can match up there. But I don't think rebounding anyone really matches
So
up well
I think
with them.
So I think and then when they got shooting, like I think it makes them a little bit more dangerous for a first. Like before, I was like, oh, they're gonna lose in the first round. It doesn't matter who they play. I think now they put themselves in a position to win a first round and like depending like and give a scare to a team in the second round.
Gotcha.
I probably put them ahead of Memphis now.
Okay, so your grade for Chicago and your grade for OKC?
OKC, I think it's an A. I think for Chicago, I'm not really sure what they're doing. So like,
Okay, so it's just like you can't
grade
even
it.
grade
I
them.
actually don't know what they're doing.
Okay,
so.
fair enough. Okay, so then we talked a little bit already about Nerlens Noel's trade, and so Mavs obviously get Nerlens Noel, whereas 76ers get Andrew Bogut, who I'm not a big fan of, but they get Andrew Bogut.
They're gonna waive him, yeah.
They're obviously they have to, and then they get Justin Anderson, and a
Yeah,
2017 top 18 protected first round pick.
man, which is likely going to become a top 2018 first round draft pick, I think.
Yeah, it's protected, yeah.
And like then there's other things that can make it become a second round pick.
Yeah.
Like I think this is arguably the best sort of potential trade in this year.
And by potential trade, you mean like for
the
a
upside,
player's potential.
the upside
Exactly.
of it. And I think Dallas found their like center of the future.
Yeah, I think they've been talking. Well, DeAndre Jordan was supposed to be that last
No,
offseason.
I think Noel is pretty good. Like he's a pretty sick pick and roll player.
Yeah. And defensively, he's
and
great.
that's the thing with Philly, right? Like, I don't know why they took this approach. Like, there were so many times where Embiid was out and they just wouldn't play Noel. I think also Brian Colangelo just didn't think Noel was going to be a good player. But it's the issue of keeping a guy around that and then not playing him is I just don't understand. And like that guy's about to go into restricted free agency, right? And like
Right.
that move by Sixers was just like, we don't want to pay him. He's not part of our future.
Right.
So we're just gonna move him for anything, and maybe Justin Anderson becomes the 3-and-D potential guy that we want to be, and because they're like lower on like the guards, the small.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
So explain to me this. So do you think between okay? So this is my question between Jahlil Okafor. So Embiid you can't trade, right? He's too good. I don't think you trade him at all.
Yeah.
Right? So you keep him as long as he stays healthy, you're good with him. But Jahlil Okafor was rumored to be traded, and then there was Nerlens Noel who was rumored to be traded. If you were in Brian Colangelo's seat for this trade, who would you have traded? Nerlens or would you have traded Jahlil Okafor?
But I think I would have tried to trade Okafor. But here's the thing, right? Like I think what they got for Noel, they can't even get that for Okafor. Like
you really don't think there was a market for Okafor, eh?
Look, okay, I'll tell you these guys. Okafor.
Yeah.
I call these guys the
This is
bench
such terminology coming.
No, these are the bench players who are good at one thing and one thing only.
Okay.
And this is for like the power forward center spot.
Okay.
You got
sure.
Cantor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Offense. Sure.
Yeah. Vucic in Orlando.
Okay.
Okay.
Really? You think Vucevic is in Orlando just one thing?
Well,
he's a double guy.
No, he's just that's gonna be his peak. He's gonna be off the bench, got instant offense, can't play.
So another Enes Kanter.
Yeah, yep. Enes Kanter, and who were we just talking about?
Tristan Thompson.
No, not Tristan Thompson. And Okafor falls under that guy.
Oh, under those guys.
A horrendous defender.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
But again, he's good offensively, and now, dare I say it, like Valanciunas is starting to trickle into that zone, man.
Oh,
like,
no.
Where it's just like, and that's the issue, right? Like, I don't want to get into the Raptors, but like that's the issue. Like, his offense is not good enough. In Valanciunas, where like what he lacks on defense, like we give up. Like people always say that. Raptors fans always say, "Oh, it's not Valanciunas, it's the other guys." Well, look at the first game where Ibaka played with Patterson and the type of D and the type of shots that Boston was taking, and now think Valanciunas is going to be one of the. And unless Valanciunas just literally doesn't miss on the offensive side, it doesn't make sense. It's why for Boston they have to think hard about like giving Isaiah the max.
I agree with you.
Like Isaiah's amazing. He's the second leading scorer. But if I'm the GM, I'm not sure if I'm giving that guy the max. That's the same way I'm not giving DeAndre Jordan the max. Because
I agree.
Like, if another team can dictate my highest paid guy being on the floor or not at the end of games, and now they obviously play DeAndre, I'm just not rolling with that guy.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, Isaiah is a different situation though. Like stats and everything are proving that Isaiah can play at the end of the game for sure.
Okay, so that's this is one thing I said last time, and like
stats are overrated.
No, not stats. Like one of the most interesting plot of the Isaiah run was the fact that, and I'm not sure if this is still the case, but during the stretch where he was like going off on the fourth quarters, overall the team was being outscored. So like he was averaging 10 points a quarter,
in the fourth quarter,
but like they were actually being outscored in the fourth.
Interesting.
Like, so it's like, and that's why they don't want to play Washington, because Isaiah will have nobody to cover. Like they won't be able to put him on anybody, and that's an issue. Even to some extent, that's why I always like gloat about like how Raptors' easiest matchup in the first round would be Boston, and everybody goes, "There's a second seed." How can you say that? I'm like, because they've got little guards, and Lowry's already a beast regardless, and like DeMar just licks his chops thinking about the idea.
So if we face Boston Celtics, this is totally sidetracked. So let's get back to it. But if we face the Boston Celtics in the first round, not that it's going to happen in the second round, let's say, because they're going to be a top seed and we're going to be a top seed. How deep do we go in that play? 5 series?
I think it's an easy 6 game
6 game, eh?
And like as a Raptor fan, it's hard to say anything is easy in the playoffs.
Yeah, agreed.
You know.
I don't even want to get into it. There's so much to talk about Lowry's injury and stuff, but we got to stay on topic here. Since you did bring up the Wizards, though, Wizards got a little bit more depth, I think, with Bogdanovich being traded. So this is the trade. Bogdanovich and Chris McCullough versus Brooklyn, who got Marcus Thornton, Andrew Nicholson, and a 2017 protected first-round pick. Grade the teams. Grade the deals
Brooklyn,
for both.
Brooklyn's Brooklyn got into the first round. Like, Brooklyn needs to pretty much get any picks they can
in the first round.
Every time when I heard that, I actually had a smile on my face. I'm like, oh my god, they got a first round pick. Good for them, man. Yeah. Literally, they don't smell a first round pick for a while.
It sucks if you're a Brooklyn fan because you're like the worst team in the league right now, and there's no hope. There's no hope. There's people think when the 76ers were tanking, you're like, oh, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We could draft the number 1 pick potentially. Ben Simmons is coming. Sure, they've been injured. Joel Embiid's coming. Sure, they've been injured. But, at the end of the day for Brooklyn, there's nothing. It's literally a losing season with no benefits.
And imagine how much pressure it's going to be on for that to even at the 24th, 25th nail a good first round player as a young talented dude.
I totally agree.
And for Washington, I think Washington Raptors just said, we're just going to take a shot at it. Raptors lost a lot of flexibility going for those trades.
Yeah.
But they said, we're just going to go and see. We're not going to let Cleveland walk through. And Boston is doing, the process with having a good team, right? People are like, oh, well, why didn't they go after Jimmy Butler? And
yeah, that's
Paul
what
George?
I said.
Jimmy Butler, but again, what were they giving up? If they were giving up one of those draft picks, Brooklyn draft picks, then I think I'd do that trade. But I neither Butler or George, I would give both the Brooklyn picks up for.
I would not give both the picks up. I totally agree with you, but I think one pick, even if it was an early pick to me, listen, if I'm giving up let's say the number 1 pick, Brooklyn ends up getting the number 1 pick, which gets to Boston, I would give up that number 1 pick, in my opinion, for a Jimmy Butler or a Paul George, because I know I have a proven asset right here that can get you, that is an all-star. Whereas the new guy, sure, I get it. Lonzo Ball might be the guy, or someone else might be the guy coming into the draft. I mean, they still got to prove themselves at the end of the day. They're not going to be immediate impact players. And if you're Boston, you want to win. So, none of your players are going to get younger.
No, so that's where I disagree. Are we sure that Boston wants to win now? No, it's not even.
Why not?
Because what if they don't believe that they can beat LeBron
with Paul George?
Okay, but even if they add Paul George, are they guaranteed to beat Cleveland? No. What?
At no point will a team be guaranteed to beat LeBron James.
No. So if they they'll have a shot, but it's they'll have to go through LeBron and Golden State, and the way Boston views it, I would do it exactly the way they've done it, because it's we don't think, even if we get Jimmy Butler or Paul George, we can go through both Cleveland and Golden State. So why should we give up our flexibility? Let's continue to be a good team with the assets that we have, and keep doing the process in the end. And what is the process? Jaylen Brown, the number 3 pick last year.
Okay.
The number 1 Brooklyn pick next year.
Okay.
And the first round pick for Brooklyn next year.
So this is a 5-year, 10-year plan.
But that assures you build for the next 10 years.
So basically, when LeBron retires, you're guaranteeing yourself.
Well, not when LeBron retires, but going through LeBron, in theory, is going to get easier the next 2 years. And why would you cash in your chips?
Yeah, but you getting that. Okay, so you getting the number 1 pick right now, in my opinion, it may take that number 1 pick 2 years before he becomes an impact player.
I know, but you're also
Jaylen Brown is a great player, but he's not impactful right now.
Man, he's playing in their rotation.
He is getting the rotation, but he's not. What I'm trying to say is, if you're, you know what I mean? If he was to come into the league immediately, a player is to come into the league immediately, and on day 1, you don't see that. On day 1, that player is going to start averaging 20 points a game, 6 assists, and do amazing things. That's very rare for an NBA player to do.
But it's also a guy who's on a rookie scale deal, right? So
that's true.
You're getting a guy who, technically, if he gets really good really quickly, which I think Fultz, Lonzo Ball are gonna be really good really quickly, and it's not those guys. It's not even determined on the stats they'll put up, especially on a good team. It's just they'll be really good. They'll be good players right off the bat,
right?
And dude, Paul George is a really great player, but he's probably not going to make the All NBA team because there's like 7 forwards that are better than him.
What does that even mean?
No, they're probably.
Who cares if he's not going to make the All NBA player? When he comes into your system, he's going to have an immediate impact.
But like if you
both sides.
But if you can win a championship with that guy, and I don't think if they get Paul George or Jimmy Butler, they're still not better than Cleveland. They're still not better than Golden State, and I would even say they're not even better than the Spurs.
Okay.
And I'll go as one step further. Like I'm not even ready to say that they're better than the Raptors. Like I'm not, and I'm not just.
I saw that coming from mouth. They're still not better.
Will they be favorites against Raptors if they do either one of those trades? Absolutely.
Yes.
But you're not gonna tell me like that just means they're gonna beat the Raptors. No, we have way more flexibility.
Listen, man, to beat a team like the Warriors or beat a team like Cleveland, you are gonna have to just give up on the next 2-3 years to actually contend against them.
Boston has the best because okay. So let's just do scenarios. Right?
Okay.
Would you have traded Marcus Smart and the number 1 pick next year for Paul George?
Yes.
I wouldn't.
Why?
I wouldn't.
Why?
For Jimmy Butler, yes, because I think he's a better player. I would not trade. Like, okay, man.
You think Jimmy Butler is better than Paul George?
Heck yes. Like, Paul George is
a proven asset in the playoffs.
Okay, I'll tell you.
In the playoffs. We know this because of the 7-game series. Anytime he got the ball, you weren't worried shitless in the fourth quarter last year in the playoffs.
He's a great player. Like, I'm just giving you, like, he's not one of the top 8 guys. So, like, that's how I look at it. Like, he is not, and Jimmy Butler is the better defender. He has, like, the dog. Like, he'll literally want to guard the other team's best player, and like Paul George does it too, but like Butler is way more tenacious about like wanting to have the responsibility.
Sure.
And that's the thing, like, you know why Paul George is a really, really, really good player, but he's not a great player? Because the difference between the really, really, really good players and the great player is the great player has every single thing in their repertoire, and the really, really good player is still missing that one thing. And here's the difference between Jimmy Butler and Paul George.
Please.
Paul George doesn't get to the free throw line, like, consistently enough, right? And he's 26 years old. And that's not one of those things, like... And again, it's...
You think he's not going to, like, learn that now? Like,
and
it's
I heard
a little too late
I heard
for
that because I always, in my mind, thought, okay, I think Paul George might be slightly better than Jimmy Butler. And then, like, I heard that on a podcast, and I was like, yo, that makes sense. Like, the guy doesn't get to the free throw line.
Okay.
And that's not something you get better at as stuff goes along, which makes sense. Like, you're not gonna in your 30s become like this guy who starts going to the free throw line.
I think Paul George is a better player. I think offensively he's a little bit better than Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is just having a phenomenal year this year for sure, but that's also on a team where, well, I guess you can argue the same thing on Indiana. They don't really have any other weapons. Miles Turner might be the weapon that they have.
Indiana has a better team. Like, they're better pound for pound players.
I agree with you. Yeah, sure. They have better players. But I think he could do more offensively. I think Paul George definitely is a better offensive player. I agree with you defensively.
Can Paul George be the best player on in a finals? And I always come to, like, I don't think he can be the best player in a team in the finals. And, like, that's just my view on it.
Depends on who's on the other side of the floor. If you have Kevin Durant on the other side of the floor, no way.
Look at
if you have LeBron James, no way.
Oh, yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
That's player 1 and 2.
That's
a bad comparison.
So I just think Jaylen Brown, the flexibility he gives you, and like, he's going to be on a cheap contract. He's going to become a really, 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 really good defender.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I just think, like, doing that Paul George trade for Boston right now, or the Jimmy Butler trade, like, they lose their flexibility, and that trade, like, what that's gonna come out of that moving forward, like, if that trade was to happen down the road, Indiana's gonna be in a worse negotiation place.
Sure.
And I think the whole Indiana thing, like the Paul George thing, was just like all fabric. Like, I don't think it was ever legitimately like they're gonna trade him. I think Indiana just said, let's see, like, the potential of what we can get.
Yeah.
And that potential for them might have been like, we want both the Brooklyn picks.
Yeah, that's out of the question. I agree with you. That's out of the question.
And both Brooklyn picks are like, there's 4 guys. Even then, those 4 guys, like, there's 4 guys I would do those for. Like, I just throw the haymaker, Yeah. The sweet, give them the jet.
So who would be those 4 guys?
Like LeBron.
No doubt.
Kevin Durant.
No doubt.
And Kawhi.
Okay, fair enough.
And
I
like
agree
Steph.
And Steph, sure.
Like even
sure.
even like, and probably Westbrook and Harden too. Like I'd probably just be like, "Yep, throw."
Yeah, here you go. Here's both picks. Let's just get a triple double machine.
Give him the used jet.
Immediate, one of the top 10 players in the league right now. Any of those guys.
Owner's used jet.
Yeah, owner's.
He's buying a new jet, and like they don't know what to do with the old one. It's like,
just,
all right,
give it to
like,
the player.
You'll have to do a little bit of like upgrades on it, but like it's still a nice working jet. Like,
Yeah.
still a jet, man.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Sure, that's a different outcome that was there. But yeah, go on.
And like, are we I don't know. Are you sure? Like, is Paul George gonna get better as a player, or is he like plateaued as a player? Like, I don't think he can get better. That's just what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be a hater, but I don't think he can get better, man. And he's nasty, and it's like always scary to go up against a team.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's why,
with you.
like, it's always like that's the weird thing about basketball, right? Like, you can be the number 2 seed that we've been last year, and the minute you go up against a team that has the best player in the series, it's always like something about that, right? It makes it difficult to beat them because
I think Paul George has not been in that situation as of late. I don't think he's had a good season this year, whereas Jimmy Butler, even though he's on a shitty team, is still having a great season, to be quite honest.
And man, I just think like pound for pound, like I think Jimmy Butler, if like he just slightly because Jimmy Butler goes to the free throw line.
Yeah,
he's
he gets the free throw
so
all
much,
the time.
and he's added another like level to his game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I definitely agree that he's improved from year over year.
Right.
But you gotta really be understanding of the fact that if you're passing on a guy like a Paul George or a guy like Jimmy Butler, you better have one hell of a plan at the end of the day.
I think Boston's plan is like, why couldn't we go after a really good free agent, because we'll have enough cap space to go after a free agent, and then also draft another guy who has superstar potential, and now you've got 2 really good players, Jaylen Brown improving.
Yep. Okay, I see your point.
Still on the team, and like Bradley, like man, then next year they give that team a shot next year with all their players, and I there seems to be this talk about how Gordon Hayward's just gonna walk away for more money to like go with his like Brad Stevens, his coach from Butler in college, and like that's who they're gonna target.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
I've
They're gonna
heard.
Gordon Hayward, and then they're gonna draft the number 1 pick. And the only risk that happens with that is like, let's suppose Minnie misses the playoff and they just nail the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Right? Now Minnie can offer Zach LaVine the number 1 pick, and say Chris Dunn.
Yeah.
For Jimmy Butler, right? And because
I think Tom Thibodeau would do that.
Yeah, and that because they know it's the number 1 pick. See, like Indiana wasn't gonna do the trade because they didn't have the guarantee that it was gonna be a number 1 pick.
I gotcha.
Right? So it's like we don't even know. Like, yeah, there's a 50% chance it's gonna be one of the top 2, but then.
So you're saying there's going to be a little bit more action in the offseason?
Yeah.
Right? When it's all set up and all done, when everyone knows where they are in terms of the draft, there's going to be a little bit more action happening during the draft season. Pretty much.
I think so. I think Chicago was realistic, but I never thought Indiana was that had a shot.
So now the elephant in the room, naturally, we're talking about superstars being traded. There's so many names: Jimmy Butler, Paul George.
Right.
Boogie was constantly in the news,
right?
Over the last God knows how long, whether he's going to be signed.
He might actually be he's gained a lot of weight.
He is the elephant.
He is actually an elephant.
So, first question I'm going to ask you is how great. I shouldn't ask it as a loaded question. So, what were your impressions of how the Kings front office handled the trade? That's one question.
Right.
Okay. 2. What do you think the trade is going to result in? Do you think they're going to be much better than they are right now? And 3, is he going to resign? Okay, first question. So the first question was, obviously, what do you think of the way that the front office at the Kings, Sacramento, how they handled it?
Like, I think, you know how Divock said, we had a better deal 2 days ago? I think, like...
What the hell was that?
So I think that was just him saying, I might want to work in basketball for... Like, maybe whether he gets a job after he's done in Sacramento, that's him saying like, I like basketball and want to work in this league one day again. Hopefully, somebody give me a shot. And he's just covering his butt, which is like that. Like, I got the impression that we've heard it now that he loved Buddy Hield, right? Like that, like the owner just
Vivek loved Buddy Hield.
The owner just loved Buddy Hield. So it's Divock sort of saying Divok's out down the road, which is like. Yeah, I remember when I said we had a better deal because we did, but the owner ended up liking Buddy Hield, and
Oh, I see.
he's like averaging 10 points and been in between from the D League and like
Yeah.
so like that was his out. And from what I heard, what I was telling you, right? Like the agent started threatening teams and saying, okay, but for punishment of you trading for Boogie, like we will not sign with your team because Boogie wanted the additional 30 million, and maybe another team that had a better deal just went, okay, like we're not gonna take it, and New Orleans, we're not gonna do that. And New Orleans, like, you know what, like we're just gonna give it a shot. Like we're gonna lose Buddy Hield,
Yeah.
and what if that it clicks and Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins become really like they're already good friends. They start clicking, and Anthony Davis convinces them to stay. Like we have to take a shot if that shot is Buddy Hield. And other teams were like, we're not gonna give up assets
I gotcha.
to take a shot
Sure.
on a guy who might be ticked off that we.
What do you think about Vivek? Real thoughts here. What do you think about the owner of the Sacramento Kings, Vivek? He has said some crazy things over the years.
Insane.
He said about four. You think he's what?
I think he's insane.
Like flat out, eh?
No, I don't think he's flat. He's obviously like done really well in his life, but no, I mean he's just like.
Yeah, but from a basketball standpoint, we're not judging him from his
Oh
life.
yeah,
from
like
a
I
basketball
think he
standpoint.
might be insane. Like I can't believe but I don't think like the position they put themselves into. It's like what we did with Bargnani, man. Like we just couldn't like Brian Clancy just couldn't get rid of him because maybe it was him admitting that he screwed up the number 1 pick, or maybe it was just him like believing that Bargnani actually had anything into him. And thank God to you, Jerry, we still ended up getting a first round pick, which is insane.
Steal.
And it's like what I was worried we were gonna do with Ross, right? Because like my problem with Ross had been like a guy who doesn't have any defensive prowess, like any defensive abilities,
Yeah.
or the ability to learn defense at that level. He has to be so great on offense all the time, and like nobody
Right.
can be at that level. You
Right.
know, even the greatest guys have bad games, and like when they have bad games, like again with Ross, when every time he had a bad game, he did not have an impact. And
Sure.
the thing is, like with PJ Tucker and Ibaka, they'll have bad games and they'll still be impactful.
Yeah.
They'll be impactful for what they bring on the defensive end, and I always rather have guys like that.
Okay,
So-
fair enough. So that was the first question. Second question, in terms of how do you think? I can't even remember what my second question was. But how do you think this trade is actually going to pan out? Do you think the Pelicans are that much better?
I think right away, no. But they've lost like 2 in a row, right?
Yeah,
since
2 in
the
a row.
trade. But I think like it'll be growing pains. Like I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. I think Denver is gonna be the 8th
Yeah,
thing.
you said
Um,
earlier.
Denver has good players, man. Like the fact they didn't get rid of Gallinari, Wilson Chandler, like they've got solid players. I just think it's going to be growing pains, but I think it made sense for New Orleans to do it. Why not? Like you're not taking a huge risk, and like now you at least have 2 top 15 players. And why don't they just? And if it doesn't work these last 30 games, just trade him.
What do you mean?
Just trade him again.
You can't. He's a free agent this offseason.
No, he's a free agent after this next year.
Oh.
Yeah, so just trade him. Just get rid of him and try to see
move him again.
Yeah,
And you could get. I think they'd get better value.
Who knows? I don't know.
I mean, their front office is better than Divac and Vivek. You think? I mean,
Man,
if they stole him, in my opinion.
I honestly think.
Oh, sorry. And what do you think about Buddy Hield being the next Steph Curry? Do you think that's actually a possibility? Because I've seen Oklahoma games of Buddy Hield. He was a great Oklahoma player.
It's like
In college is different.
It's like when Michael and then LeBron, then Kobe, and then now Steph. It's like everybody's the next, the KD or Steph. And it's
Yeah.
Just stop. Like he's of course not the next Steph Curry because he is an above average shooter, right? But like what makes Steph great is his ball handling, his ability to like get the shot. Like of course not, right? But he could be a really good player. Imagine if that's the thing. Like 5 years from now, Buddy Hield.
Could you
becomes
imagine
amazing
people are
player.
talking about Buddy Hield averaging
Vivek's
20
like-
points per game, and now all of a sudden we're like, we made fun of him. Sajj said he was insane. He turned out to be the best player.
And only Vivek is like can take credit for it. But you know, like for Sacramento, I love the move. I love it. You have to get rid of him. Like you have.
I'm just gonna take off my headphones.
No. It's just like I love I love any move that involves getting rid of DeMarcus Cousins.
Oh my god! But for value, I'm not saying don't
Bro,
get rid
but
of him.
they don't-
For value.
So the fact that they didn't trade him for so long that value kept going down, right? So it's
I
like
agree with you.
it's like I don't know. The only mistake they made is not doing it earlier. Like, just they should have done it 2 years
Sure.
ago. But because you can't like, it was just too much of a cloud over that organization, man. The way Cousins had like dealt with day to day,
Well,
it just
that's what Divac has said, right? Like, even though the guy was averaging 28 points, 11 rebounds, I think 5 assists or 6 assists. Even though he was averaging all that, he's like, I need a culture change. He's like, the only way you win is by changing the culture, right? And obviously he had a different way of going about it. Boogie.
Yeah,
Clearly, did you see the emotional goodbye that he had?
yeah.
Yeah, so he really loved the city.
I just think it's hard to win when a guy is literally yelling and calling out the mistakes of other players all the time, and just I just think it's a difficult way. Like, it was a difficult situation. I think Sacramento just, we're gonna move on. We're gonna get rid of this situation, and like, yep, it's a sunk cost. We'll lose a bunch. We're gonna start again. Like, we're gonna figure it out from the start again, and this time we're gonna go get another player that sort of fits and is better. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what choice you had. Like, teams knew that they needed to get rid of him. Like, how much negotiations did they really have? Like, the team see what's going on. The guy's leading the lead in technical fouls.
I agree with you. Okay, well, I mean,
how many teams really was going after DeMarcus Cousins? Like, how many teams were over the course of the last year who really thought about
hypothetical scenario? Would you have really wanted him on the Raptors? Yes. Say yes.
No,
just stop acting and just say yes.
For Valanciunas and some picks.
Yeah. Okay.
But like,
despite his head case that you're clearly making him out to be.
But we have a strong, but we've got Ujiri, right? Like, we got strong leadership. Like,
I agree.
We're already a winning organization.
I agree.
So like, we don't need you, but we think you can make us better type situation.
Sure.
And like, when you have LeBron, like, you need to take shots like that. Like, right, if you actually think you can beat, right?
Yeah.
But how many other teams? No, but like, even us trading Valanciunas, like, how serious do you think we were about that?
I think we would have loved to do that in a heartbeat. I don't think the Sacramento office would ever pick up the phone.
But that's the issue.
That's the other side, right?
No, that other side is like, he loved Buddy Hield so much that like they could have probably got better deals.
Yeah, but he's insane. You said it. Those aren't my words. You said he was insane. Vivek is insane.
Yeah, man. I think like. Yeah, I would do that trade because I'm like, our stars are like 27 and 31.
Yep,
and
agreed.
This is our shot, and if we don't, like, that's what people are like, should you give Lowry the max? And it's like, okay, let's not give him the max.
That makes me laugh because we've had debates on this.
Let's not give him the max. Sure, let's suppose I agree with the idea of not giving him the max. Okay, then what? Then we have to trade DeRozan. Then we have to trade Valanciunas. Right?
What is going on? Wait, why are the Raptors collapsing now?
Because do you think we're even remotely a good team without Lowry?
I think we're a good team.
Okay, so
I don't think it's even a question of remotely.
Okay, whoa, hold up.
Remotely.
Okay, let's say we lose Lowry. Right?
Okay.
Next year, and we bring the same team back.
Okay.
Oh, but we don't know. Okay, let's suppose because we lost Lowry, we bring Ibaka back.
Yeah.
And we'll sign PJ Tucker.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Done.
Where do you think we finish in the East?
I think we still finish 8th.
At least 8th. I don't think we make the playoffs. I swear to God, I actually don't think we make the playoffs. Like, I'm not talking like. No, I'm sorry. I know we won't make the playoffs because.
You get an adequate point guard to replace, not like the 20-point plus point guard, but you get I don't know who's an off-season free agent, but I think you could do it.
Bring Calderon back?
That'd be the guy. That's my guy.
No, but it's like, I don't think we would be a playoff team, and why would you want... Okay, let's
Bring Grievous fast.
Okay, and let's suppose you get a point guard and you become the 8th seed, then what? You just get smashed in the first round by LeBron. Right?
I understand. I totally understand.
I just think when you... It's just the years, right? Like, and I get the other side argument. Like, 31-year-old Lowry gets into injury problem, is injured right now. How can you give him a max deal? Then we as an organization have to say, okay, it was a nice run. We maybe didn't get some of the luck, like the lucky bounces that we needed. But yeah, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think. I mean, for the Raps, it'll be difficult. Like, we don't have flexibility. We'll have to pay Ibaka if we and. Do you want to give Ibaka 5 years from now? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. 5 years from now, but he is 27 years old.
Yeah, I don't
right
know,
now.
Man. I
think we've just lost a lot of flexibility in general.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think the Raptors have an exciting season, at least for the time being. I think it's going to be an awesome season.
Who knows, man? Maybe we just start getting ready for the
PJ
parade.
Tucker is. Let's dub him the LeBron stopper, shall we?
Man, in my brain, I think we're gonna win the championship.
That's with you for every year.
I think we've positioned ourselves.
Did you
for
think
a
we were gonna win the championship? This will define if you're a true Raptors fan. Do you think we were gonna win the championship in your head when we had Andrea Bargnani?
Yeah, man.
No, you didn't.
no, but
even you didn't believe that.
It's just like, yeah, like I think we match
Is he
up.
in the league still?
I think we match out well against Golden State. It's like, what?
Is he still in the league?
No, he's gone.
Where's he playing?
He's not even in the continent, I hope. I don't
What
want
do
to
you
share
mean
the
you
same
won't?
continent as that guy, man.
Why?
I hate him so much. So
all right.
bad.
Well, Sajj, this was a great episode. Thank you
For
so
sure.
much for being on again.
Thanks a lot, man.
We
Thanks for having
appreciate
me. It's
you're our
always
first
fun.
guest to come back on, like I mentioned, and we're super excited to have you on and all the knowledge and excitement you bring.
Knowledge, yeah. Right.
All the knowledge and excitement you bring. So we appreciate it. And listeners, if you guys enjoyed that, we're going to have plenty of Sajj in the future with us on NBA topics. Hope you guys enjoyed that one, and we'll tune in next time. See you guys.